Take it.
Binkley, I love you. You know that. And you are always welcome on the show. But there has never been a time where Rob and I were thinking about who we wanted to talk baseball with.
I'm kidding.
And Rob looked at me and was like, hey, you know who's really going to break down baseball hot stove? Why don't we bring Binkley in studio? Binkley, we talk football when you come here.
I know.
Football, food.
I went on a Buffalo show last week, and I was like,
and beer.
We talking Royals? I was talking Buffalo. Do you guys have me on talking Royals? What's going on?
All right, so there's a lot of stuff to get your opinion on. Let's start with the trade deadline and how you think the Chiefs handle it. I don't have a problem with what the Chiefs did. We were talking about this leading into it. Do you want the Chiefs to make a move, or do you want them to make a transaction? I think the Chiefs tried to make a move. Trying to go get Breece Hall is a legitimate move, but I'm not trading a top 100 pick for a rental player. Now, if we're talking about Breece Hall had a year or 2 years left on his rookie contract after this, then yeah, I would have traded the third-round pick for Breece Hall, and I would have moved forward. But that's not the deal. You got to trade the third-round pick. You get 8 games left of Breece Hall, and at the end of it, he either walks or you sign him to a top 10 running back contract. I wouldn't have paid that price for Breece Hall. Nobody in the league paid that price. What do you make of either the Chiefs offering the 4th-round pick and not going up to the 3rd, and or the Jets staying steadfast, and hey, if you don't got a 3rd-round pick, we're not trading them to you?
Well, I agree with Rob and what he was talking about the Jets. It'll be interesting to see what they go. And I do feel that by not moving this, they will plan to pay Breece Hall, because they're doing this restructuring now, and guys are losing their jobs, and they're figuring out for the future that direction. If they see Breece Hall as the future, like I can see that they're going to pony up and pay him. I wouldn't be shocked if they did. If Breece Hall kind of looked the other way, did a Myles Garrett type deal. You know, I want to leave. Oh, how much you paying me? I'll stay. You know, maybe that kind of situation. But the Chiefs don't have the draft capital really to throw out there. Like, it's unfortunate they really don't. They have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2 4ths, a 5th, and probably a 7th, a comp pick with the D-Hop when it comes back. So they don't have that like pick swap type stuff as previous years. And typically that one move doesn't put you over the edge. I mean, you heard John Lynch, the Niners, talking about this and stuff. And I agree with it. There's not that one move typically you make. And the other thing I caution about, and when I was with Cody yesterday, Ross Tucker was on, and I said, because he played in the league, and I said, how tough is it, Ross? Because he moved during the season. How tough is that when you go to another team? Like, that's the one thing, too. Like, Andy Reid's offense is tough, and we know that. Like, it is tough to get. And even Andy Reid talked about in minicamp, having these receivers back to kind of know the offense. Even though Hollywood was hurt and stuff, and Rashee Rice, they were still here. They still know the offense and what they like to do. But coming here like a running back, just coming right here and being planted right here for the Kansas City Chiefs and saying, go, it's go time. And Ross was right. He says there's certain positions you could maybe get away with this, but it's not many, because the quarterback has to understand what you're doing. And you have to do things like the quarterback wants you to do. And I remember a couple games ago, Noah Gray, right? They were throwing the ball to Noah Gray, and Mahomes missing. Mahomes put it right about the 5-yard line where it hit the ground. But Noah had turned to the inside, because that's probably where the route had him go. But he was running right into a safety. Mahomes is like, hoping for that connection that receivers and tight ends and quarterbacks have, like he has with other people, like Rice and Kelsey. And Noah didn't do it. Noah kept going. He cut the route like he was supposed to, straight to the safety. And Mahomes just planted the ball right there where he was hoping he would go. Again, the play you call, the play you hope for. So it is tough when you bring somebody into different situations. I thought it would be tough. The Jets are a weird deal because, again, if they don't sign him, you get nothing. And he walks. We'll say they franchise him. It was a little over $11 million last year for the franchise tag on running backs. That'll go up to about 12 and a half this year. So I am surprised in that. I didn't think the Chiefs would make a home run move on defensive line. Now, with good depth coming in, this is a big reason why the Chiefs bring back familiar guys, because they know the system, because it's tough with Spags. It's tough with Andy Reid. So it is that familiarity with them that's very important to the offense and defense. Like a Calais Campbell, somebody like that, a low-key move like that had 2 sacks in that Monday night game. He's up to 5. He's 39 years old.
There was
He's
no rumblings
contract
around him. He was a guy I would have been very interested in, but his name just never came up for any team.
And the problem is they won that Monday night game in against Dallas.
They're going to lie and convince themselves they're in it.
Well, not only that hurt our circa picks with our team 965, the circa picks on Dallas, but Arizona get this false sense of how good they are. And I think had they lost that game, that's why when Jerry Jones said he made a trade or whatever and wouldn't tell anybody what it was, I think a lot of it was contingent upon them winning or losing that game as far as the compensation going forward. But Yeah, Arizona won that game. Now Jacoby Brissett's going to start for Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray's hurt now, so they're going to go in this direction. And this false sense of being better than they actually are. Of course, they did have that ball dropped at the 1 yard line. But Calais Campbell probably made the most sense because he's a veteran. He's 39. He's still productive. He would come in here and I think be perfect.
He's owed no money.
He's owed no money, and the Cardinals would have picked up half of it. The vested veteran, they would have picked up half of it. You wouldn't have to waste picks. It would have been a nice move. Breece Hall would have been good, but does that signify, okay, Pacheco, I can understand. He's probably going to walk after the year. Kareem Hunt, you're probably not going to bring him back because I think we forget that they actually paid Elijah Mitchell more signing bonus and contract than what Kareem Hunt got.
I have no problem with they bring back Kareem Hunt next season. I just want them to go
He's
out
been so
and look
effective on thirds down. So I'm with you.
I want them this offseason to go find RB1. If you were telling me that they're either going to go out in free agency or in the draft, second round, third round pick, so you bring in a young 22-year-old running back who's got 4 years of club control, Kareem Hunt, you got Brashard Smith as your third down back, throw it at him out of the backfield, and then you can kind of go from there. To me, that's a really good plan if that's what they want to do next
And Brashard fits in the running back room nicely. I wouldn't be against the Chiefs throwing a dart in the third or fourth. Again, they have 2 fourth-round picks. Go a little bit higher. Sure, we look at this past year's draft and think, all right, Brashard probably would have gone in the 5th round maybe 2 years ago. The running back class was pretty full this year. He was better in the 7th rounder, we believe, as far as his value was concerned. But maybe they'll throw a pick earlier on. But now things are starting to add up. Like the Chiefs in the 1st round, they're going to go defensive line. They're still going to go edge. You're going to use 2 picks on the defensive line. Then all of a sudden you have to start thinking tight end as well. Unless you think tight end 1's on this roster. If Kelsey leaves, tight end 1's not on this roster.
I think a lot of people just want the football deadline to be a lot like basketball and baseball. What I mean, if you're in the NBA, for example, the Houston Rockets, the Rockets are going to need a point guard at some point this season. You are going to be able to find a point guard at the deadline because that's how the basketball trade deadline works. In baseball, if you need a starting pitcher, there's one available at the deadline. If you need a closer, if you need a bat, you can always find that. That's just not the way that it is. Like this year, think about it. If you were a team that needed a rush in, there was one rush in that was available, and it was Jalen Phillips. There weren't 4 or 5 different pass rushers that were available. So I'm happy with the Chiefs keeping their draft stock that they have. I think the Chiefs have enough. I think the Chiefs roster is talented enough to win the AFC West, go to another Super Bowl, and win another Super Bowl. Now the expectation is going to be, well, how do you get more out of that run game? How do you get more out of your defensive line? But I believe wholeheartedly, I think the Chiefs have enough pieces to get to where they want to go with their current 53-man roster.
It's this false pretense that the trade deadline is going to push you over the edge when we know how tough it is in the NFL to understand the schemes and the systems teams run. That's why they have mini camps. It's why they have long training camp. It's why they try to do things and figure it out. It's why they have 3 preseason games to figure out what the coach is going to call. Because there is something tough about just going to another team and picking up their system right away. We've seen it with the Chiefs. It doesn't happen. There's a big reason why guys come back to the Chiefs that have been here before because they understand it. But the draft isn't won, or the teams aren't won how good they are by what they do at the trade deadline. The season's won in March and April. It's done with free agency. It's done with the draft. And maybe a few veterans after June 1st cuts that can come into your team but still get to go mini camp and go to training camp with you. But for all intents and purposes, your team is built in March and April.
Right now, we're joined in studio by Jay Binkley here talking a little bit of football. We asked this question yesterday on a scale from 1 to 10. So 10 being you're absolutely terrified. How worried are you about the Chiefs winning the AFC West?
I think it's pretty much a coin flip. Put them at a 5. Because, honestly, a lot will be decided that Denver game at Denver. Because this schedule lightens way up once December starts. Because then it's Houston, the Chargers, and the Broncos are the home games. The only road games are at Tennessee and at the Raiders. It's very, very comfortable. But at Denver, then the Colts the week after that, and then the Cowboys. You just never know what you're going to get from the Dallas Cowboys when the Chiefs play them. But, yeah, I put it at a 5 because this game means everything as far as winning. They lose this game, the West is done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now at the Broncos. So let's assume they win this game tonight. They're at home. They're 8.5-point favorites. They're then 8-2. You're right. They got the home game against the Chiefs. The Chiefs might be a slight favorite in that game, but that's basically a coin flip kind of game.
It should be one loss, too, because that screwy job at the Colts first game of the year.
100%. They also probably should have lost the Giants game too. You know what I mean? Like
I get 33 points.
Yeah, they won one they were supposed to win, and then on the other end,
it's a lot like Chiefs were last year.
But then if you're looking at it, I mean, Washington, they're going to be favored. On the road against Vegas, they're going to be favored. They got a really exciting game late in the season against Green Bay. I mean, one of the best teams in the AFC, one of the best teams in the NFC.
Weird team, though. A weird team. A good team at times, but a team that loses to the Browns, the Panthers, and ties the Cowboys. Extremely, extremely unreliable team.
You have no clue. Like, in that game, I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay won 31-17. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost 24-3.
100%.
You know what I mean?
You don't know what you're going to get, man. It's that box of Cracker Jacks, man. You don't know what you're going to get.
Would have absolutely no clue. They got Jacksonville, Kansas City, and the Chargers to finish out the season. I think you have to go into it thinking that the Broncos will at least win 11 games this year. I don't know how you can look at their schedule and find how they win less than 11. I mean, I would say somewhere between 11 and 13 seems realistic to me with the Broncos. So if that's the case and you're the Chiefs, you really, really got to get going if you got to get to 12. You're at 5-4 right now.
Yeah, it's a very good defense Denver has at getting to the quarterback. I compared yesterday when I was on with Cody, the 2000, because people are bagging this Broncos offense. Their numbers are almost identical to the 2024 Chiefs. I mean, the 25 Broncos are actually better in some categories than the 25 Chiefs offense that went to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that offense is serviceable, but the bottom line is, and this is what scares me the most about Denver, is like the Chiefs last year, they were finding ways to win, block field goals, doinks, in Carolina. They were finding those ways to win, and that's what good teams do. Broncos, even though these fourth quarter comebacks, like against the Giants or what they did against the Houston Texans, they're finding a way at the very end, because that's Bo Nix's best quarter is the fourth quarter. And that's important, because that's what you want your best quarter to be for your quarterback. But instead of being the Raiders, they're finding a way to lose like they did against Jacksonville this past weekend. Bad teams find a way to lose. Good teams find a way to win. And unfortunately, Denver's finding that way to win. And that's the scariest part about them to me is they're not melting down at the end. They're getting better.
Right now, we're joined in studio by Jay Binkley. If you're the defensive line, you should feel embarrassed. The fact that Josh Allen dropped back 26 times and completed 23 of his passes for 273 yards and didn't turn the football over, that's a direct indictment on you. The Bills' defensive line affected the game. Look at Mahomes' percentage. Like, they had a tremendous impact on the game. That was not the case on the other side. Who are you most disappointed in when talking about that defensive line? Because to me, the name is Charles Omenihu. Like, this was supposed to be your year.
It was going to be his money year, right?
100%.
It was going to be his money year. His last chance really to get the big contract. He's only back with the Chiefs because he didn't get that big money elsewhere. So, yeah, that's a disappointment. Chris Jones, wear and tear. You're just not getting the same Chris Jones that you've got in the past. That's where I thought they really needed help. I really liked Omar Norman a lot, and I really liked what he was going to do to this defensive line. They tried to put all that weight on him originally and put him, right at nose tackle when he's a 3, 3 technique. They tried to do too much with Omar Norman Lott, and of course he's gone for the year, so that's bad. But credit the Bills in what they did. They won this game because of the offseason. Bringing in Bosa, 5 of their first 5 draft picks were all on defense. The Buffalo Bills went through the draft saying, we've got one team to stop, and that's the Chiefs. Forget about the division. Forget about the Jets, the Patriots. They're going to have to worry about them eventually, and probably this year if New England end up. But they didn't really consider New England that team. They still considered Kansas City. It's not like the Chiefs when they brought in Spags that stopped that undefeated season with the Patriots. The Chiefs knew it wasn't a division. They knew they had to stop New England. They had to stop Tom Brady. So that's why they brought in Spags. That's why they went out and got Tyrann Mathieu and the Honey Badger and all these guys to stop Tom Brady. It was to stop the New England Patriots. And I credit the Bills because they went through this whole offseason and the draft to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver, they draft Jahdae Barron in the first round, cornerback from Texas. That was smart because Surtain's hurt. He got an interception a couple weeks ago. He had been running the second team, but he's starting now. So that was a good move. The Raiders drafted a running back in the first round. The Chargers drafted a running back in the first round. You look at these teams and how can we stop Kansas City that have not won 9 straight divisions? They keep going to the AFC title game. When you have a team that's gone to 7 straight, you got to figure out how to beat them. Forget about everybody else in the division. Forget about everybody else. How can we beat this team? And that's the way Buffalo approached the season.
So this is how I have the AFC kind of figured out. I think there's 4 teams that I would say at this point you have to look at as locks to make the postseason. The Colts, Patriots, Bills, and the Broncos. Unless an epic collapse happens from those 4 teams, I think you can narrow them, and those 4 teams are making the postseason. Either Pittsburgh or Baltimore has to make the postseason because of the AFC North. I don't really see a scenario in which both of them make it, but it's certainly possible. But one of those teams has to make it. It seems to me then it's between the Chargers, Chiefs, and the Jaguars. And as of now, and I know they play the Chargers again, the Chiefs don't have the tiebreaker against either one of those teams. So I'm looking at it just, I think the Chiefs are going to make the postseason. So I'm not here to fear monger, like, oh, they're in danger of missing it. But man, they really got to start to get to work in this. Like, these next 2 games are going to tell us everything we need to know about the Chiefs, because the championship Chiefs that have been to 3 straight Super Bowls, that have been to 5 of them, they win both of these games. They are 7-4, and they quiet all of the conversation about them. The Chiefs that have done that, they figure out a way to win these 2 games.
That's why it's so imperative for these next 2 games, just to set the bar. You beat Denver at Denver, and then you beat the Colts. Everybody's loving the Colts right now. And here's the one thing about the Colts. You got to caution yourself from the NFL media perspective and how they're looking at the Colts. Is this another Johnny-come-lately team? Like, we've seen so much in the AFC. Do you really believe Daniel Jones is that guy for the future? Because I'll say this. Daniel Jones had wins over the Cardinals, Miami, the Raiders, the Titans twice. That's great. He goes to Pittsburgh, albeit the 32nd ranked pass defense. He threw for 352, right? Good game. But they lost. And he turned the ball over 5 times. 5 times. For a guy they're calling MVP. 3 picks, 2 fumbles. Actually fumbled 3 times, lost 2 of them. So 5 turnovers went to Daniel Jones. The schedule gets tougher. Like, the schedule for the Colts gets tougher now, so we're going to find out if they're one of those for real teams or not. The Chargers are weird because Joe Alt means everything to that team, like on the offensive line. When Rashawn Slater goes down as their starting left tackle with the same injury of Simmons that he had back in college, that patellar tendon, he goes down. Joe Alt moves, because he was a left tackle at Notre Dame. He moves from the right to the left. And then Pipkins got hurt. And then guess what? The Chargers were vulnerable. People were beating them, right? They were a mess. That offensive line was a complete mess. It was in shambles. Herbert was getting hit, and their team wasn't playing well. Guess what happened? Alt came back. Pipkins came back before the Vikings game. Look what happened. They destroyed the Minnesota Vikings. Now Alt gets hurt in Tennessee. He's gone for the year, and they had to hang on to beat the Tennessee Titans. So, not really as worried about the Chargers as Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, I mean, these 2 teams, they have the same amount of losses, the Chargers and the Jaguars. The Chargers have 1 more game than them. The Chargers haven't had their bye week yet. That's coming up. Which, if I told you only one of those teams makes the postseason, it sounds like you think Jacksonville then will make the postseason over the Chargers, based on the injuries.
Based on the injuries, yes. We'll see how this offensive line comes together, but right now it's been a mess. And then Hampton, when's he going to come back? But that offensive line, Vidal's been doing well, so we'll put it there. And they got Jarrett Patterson there, too. But the Jags are such a weird team. I don't know if I 100% trust. Like, the Raiders really needed to beat them because they had the Chiefs right there, but because Jacksonville has that tiebreaker. I don't know. Jacksonville's so up and down. And Travis Hunter's injury and stuff like that, I just don't know what to expect. So the Chargers might find a way to sneak in.
I want to play this audio for you. This is Steve Sarkisian. Listen to this. This is very interesting stuff from a Power 4 coach.
Everybody wants to fire their coach. Who are you going to hire? There's all these jobs out there right now. Who's everybody going to hire? I don't know. We'll find out. Somebody's got to be the head coach. The amount of, 1 week you're a hero, the next week you're a zero mentality that fan bases and people want to have. Surely coaches want some security to what they sign up to go do. We work really hard, and I get it. We all want to win, and we're all busting our tails to try to win, and sometimes things don't go your way, especially in our conference. It's tough, and so the idea that coaches don't want some security in the jobs that they take, that doesn't quite make sense to me. It should be like, man, somewhere in here, somebody has got to be willing to say, hey, let's see if this can work itself out. Not every year, not all 16 teams in the SEC are going to go to the playoff. It's just not reality. We're talking about trying to get 4 or 5 teams in this year. Last year we got 3.
This is what I want to get your opinion on. I am not arguing that Missouri is a better job than Florida, but I do think you can argue that it is better to coach at Missouri than to coach at Florida. Right now, Eli Drinkwitz is the 10th highest paid coach in college football. I don't think he's the 10th best coach. I don't think he has, so if Missouri's going to pay you like you're a top-end coach, you don't have nearly the expectation that you will out of Florida or a Penn State or an LSU. I mean, I'm not saying that Eli won't take the jump. It's certainly a possibility. But I think as you're starting to see, man, taking these jobs at Florida or Penn State, I don't know if they're the surefire thing. A couple of years ago, if you were the coach at Indiana and you had success, you would 100%. You had to take the jump to go take that. But I'm not sure if all of these openings right now, somebody is going to leave this coaching cycle unhappy about who they get. And I think they're going to end up ultimately making a downgraded head coach off of what they got.
Yeah, it's crazy because Kurt Signetti at Indiana, you would have thought he would have been the hot name. Of course, he gets a pay increase, but that school, Indiana, has more losses in the history than anybody else, 7-15, which is crazy. So he's staying there. Lane Kiffin's been putting out some weird stuff that he might be staying, at Ole Miss, that the grass isn't always greener somewhere else. The problem is Florida and Penn State will get pretty desperate at some point, and that money might get to a place where Eli really has to think about it. But you know what? It's proven. Look at Texas Tech and the money they're spending in nil. I mean, they're proving you can win at Texas Tech and anywhere else because this nil has changed the game, and Texas Tech spends just as much money as anybody else. So it depends on what your boosters are willing to pay and how much they're willing to pay for a buyout. But, yeah, the pressure is going to be at Florida and Penn State. And just ask James Franklin how it was. This guy was in the playoffs last year. If he beats Oregon in overtime, who knows what happens?
I mean, he still has his job for sure. And that's why I understand why we went to this 12-team playoff. And ultimately, I think the 12-team playoff has been good for the enjoyment of college football. But you and I come from the era where, man, going to the Alamo Bowl was a big deal. Going to the Holiday Bowl was a big deal.
1980, see that there was only 8 bowl games.
Or going to the Cotton Bowl was a big deal. Now, if your team doesn't make the playoff, no one cares how your season went.
Yeah.
So if you're not
making a bowl game, get you fired.
So think about it. If you're not one of those 16 teams, man, the pressure is on you. And when I hear the AD at LSU say we expect to be in the playoff every single year, that's just not realistic to me at LSU. And LSU is one of the best programs in the country. It is not realistic to think that every single year you're going to be in the playoff. So if you have that kind of pressure, why not stay at an Ole Miss or stay at an Indiana? Indiana's going to pay me $12 million a year, and if I win 8 games, I'm not going to get fired? You can argue that's a better situation.
Well, this transfer portal's changed everything, and I don't think these coaches really adjusted to what it means. Like beforehand, they controlled everything. They controlled where you could transfer to. It was out of the conference and everything else. Now you can pick players to come in and they change your direction. Look how many teams have got a different quarterback from the transfer portal, and it changed the whole team. Indiana, Mendoza, it's one of the Heisman front runners. He came from Cal. Like he was a transfer from Cal. Jack Endry's the tight end from Texas, doing great things there. He was the tight end at Cal. You can flip your whole team's direction, typically by the quarterback going to a different school. But name, image, and likeness changed the game. These other schools are just as competitive as everywhere else. But now you're running into maybe Ryan Silverfield at Memphis. Is he going to take the Arkansas job? I mean, you're running in these type of things. Then all of a sudden people are going to start looking at James Franklin, Brian Kelly, Jimbo Fisher, and getting some retreads back in the coach. But I do think the name, image, and likeness has just totally changed the game. Just like Texas Tech having more money than anybody else to spend. And you got a high-profile guy in the NFL that they wear his logo on their uniform sometimes. I mean, that's a big step for Texas Tech.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If Eli Drinkwitz ends up taking another job, James Franklin would be near the top of my list to take over at Missouri. They would be a
Sure, he just wins.
They would be a consistent, good program at Missouri if they got James Franklin.